Hello and good evening. How is everyone? All right. Okay, so Monday night, I have got a new project that I'm going to be starting on tonight. All right, I've got it already laid out in front of me here. Okay, I'm just going to move around a little bit. Now, as of yet, I don't have my paints and my palettes. I will kind of show those to you here. I'll take a quick minute and explain what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so I don't know if any of you have stopped by my Facebook page relatively recently or had seen the stone that I had produced relatively recently. Now, I'll be honest, I really don't do stones a lot. Okay, and I liked glass, I liked paper, I liked canvas, I liked all kinds of different things, but rock was just not something that I ever really wanted to do, at least a whole lot. And I had a couple of stones hanging around from my garden, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna do it because I found this pattern that I loved. I was playing around with it, I really liked it, I love the colors, and I goofed it, right? I mean, I really had a knee-jerk reaction, and I made something that I decided I didn't like. But I liked the design, I liked the pattern so much that I actually did decide that I want to recreate it again on a proper surface, on something that I think I'm really going to enjoy for reals. So what I've got laid out here, and let me kind of adjust this a little bit here. So what I've got laid out here in front of me, I've got a couple of small canvases. So these are all the same size. Now they are separate. However, just temporarily, I've kind of got them taped together just to make this a little bit easier. I have pre-prepped these. I've spray varnished them just to make things a smidge easier because these ones are just some cheap ones that I picked up. They're a little rough. One unfortunate thing is I did have these outdoors after I sprayed them just to, dry, and something had gotten a spot here, and I don't even know what it is. Something stuck or touched it, and so now I've got a spot, and hopefully that'll disappear. Hopefully you won't see that at all. But essentially, if you can't tell, because I do have some really, really light pencil on top of this. So this triptych, I've got one large here and two here on either side. And essentially I'm going to take the same pattern and I'm going to break it up into three. So hopefully everything will be nice and symmetrical. I made sure to measure out all my lines and everything. So as long as I don't get too far off with my actual painting, I think it's going to be good. All right. Kind of as a recap, this is the project. This is actually what I am going to be creating. This is what I'm going to be duplicating. I do have, as I initially created this, I did go ahead and jot my own little, what would you say, instructions down. I normally do this right in the book. And if you had tagged along for some of the other stuff that I do, this is sort of how I lay things out in practice. I have things all over the place, right? So I normally would have actually done that in here as well, but because I had actually intended to have more practice, I just stuck it on a sticky note. But this is what I'm going to be making here, if it works. I'm going to be making a couple of adjustments to some of the colors because I know for a fact right now that on the white paper, this really light beige that I have, this warm buff, is going to kind of disappear off into here. So I am going to darken that up. I did play around with my color palette along the back here just to kind of get an idea what things were going to look like when everything was dry. So I think we got everything set. Now, so to start, I've got just a black and this deep burgundy. This has got to be my favorite color in the entire world here. And then for the two browns, now this was my original color, was the warm buff, but I'm going to darken that a little bit, and I'm going to go to the caramel. And then for the darkest, I'm going to use my nutmeg brown. This is my least favorite only because it's a little bit thinner. So I'm going to have to see. I thickened that up a little bit, and we'll kind of see where that goes. I am not adding a medium to my paint tonight. It's going to be straight out of the bottle. Like I said, I've pre-treated this, so we should be good to go there. Let me get my paints, my tools scooted over a little bit. As always, I'm using my Happy Dotting Company tools. And then for my swooshes, I just have my nail art tool. I always use my 0.5 for that. Okay, the largest tool that I'm going to be using tonight is going to be a 10. And that's going to be for the center of this one. So, which is lucky because I just found that one of my tools went missing. I don't know. It's completely gone. All right, the noise you're hearing is I'm just giving my paints a good shake. If you've not hung around before, when I open up a new paint, I do drop in a couple ball bearings, 1/4-inch ones, 2 of them. That really gives a beautiful mix to the paint. Okay, so I've got 2 ball bearings in each one of my paints here. Makes such a big difference in my opinion. All right, almost there. Okay, let me get that buff out of the way because we're not going to need that right now. All right, ooh, let me get this out. This caramel I haven't used in a bit, so it needed an extra shake. All right, so I think I've got everything in here. I also have my little handy dandy cloth here. It's just in some hot water. I can wring it out. And the very last thing that I'm going to do, oh, you know what? Let's adjust. Just a smidge. Okay, now I think I got everything in front of me. I am going to start here in the center, obviously, right? But what I'm going to try to do, just to make sure that I don't goof up any of the symmetry here, is I am going to do all 3 in tandem here, so I don't get lost with anything. All right, that may make it a little bit tricky as I start to come out towards the edges. So hopefully, as long as I don't speed through this, then I shouldn't have any problems with getting my hand in stuff. Knock on wood. All right, okay. Now, if this is a pattern that you guys do want to follow along with specifically, I am going to be doing 3 things. To start with, I am, in addition to streaming this, I am going to be recording this session. This session I will edit and I will be posting once it is completed. We're going to edit out any of the extra nonsense if there happens to be any, which I doubt. I'm going to edit it, cut it down a little bit, and you can follow it along as a tutorial. As I mentioned, I do have this with all of my sizes written down. So once I do get the video posted and or in the group, if you would like, I'll post this so that, again, if you want to follow along, you'll have all the tool sizes as well. Okay, let me shut up now and get into my work, right? Okay, so we're going to start with the 10. And let's just get this nice and centered. Okay. Oops. Of course, right off, it looks like I got a dog hair hanging off my tool. No bueno. All right. Okay. All right. And now, you know what I'd like to do real quick? Because I'm going to be doing the edges I don't think I prepared enough. Let's see if I have a paper towel around here. I do. Okay. I always have a little stash of paper towels or napkins hanging around somewhere. Okay. Aha. Okay. I'm going to stick this under here. Shouldn't be causing any problems at all. My paint is quite thick. It's not going to be dropping off anywhere, but you know. Okay. All right, and we're going to go to the other edge, and we're going to be brave. Drop that right off the side. Okay. Yeah, I wish my Lazy Susan was just a little bit longer, but you know, I hadn't actually thought when I bought it that I'd be doing triptych pieces that were quite that wide. So it is what it is. All right, let's get this a little larger. Okay, all right. Okay, so the next one, we're gonna go into the light brown, and I'm gonna do a 1. Now for me, again, the light brown is a caramel. This is classic caramel. Okay, now I'm gonna start, even though I've done this a couple times by now, and I sort of know how many dots are gonna fit around this, I still always will use the 4 compass points, just in case. I am by no means immune to mistakes. And sometimes, even with guidelines, I goof it up. You know, it happens, right? Okay. So I'm just going to go through, hit these down on my guidelines. Okay. And then go in between. Okay. And then let's go to the edge here. Oops, see what happens? I was trying to move and I got a little too close. And that is why I sprayed my canvas. All right. Okay. And I've done my best to kind of cut these right in half. So hopefully the design will fall nice in half. Okay, and then these ones should be hanging off the edge. Oops. Okay. Nice and easy. Now, I may kind of be getting out of your view, so I'm going to adjust a little just to make sure I'm not. And if I do, if it ever gets to a point to where maybe I am out of view, somebody yell, right? because yeah, I'm gonna kind of have to move these back and forth with the panels. And since it's definitely longer than what I'm used to, it's a definite possibility that I could just run right out of your view. Okay. Okay. All right, that's down. Okay, now we're gonna jump up to a 2.5. And I'm gonna go into the darker brown. And so for me, again, this is the nutmeg. And this one, again, is a little bit thinner than my other ones, so. Turn it upside down here. And just filling in the spaces. When I turn this around, I always feel like I'm making somebody dizzy, sorry. And again, as I do this, if anyone has any questions, regardless whether if it's on this or not, it doesn't matter, just jump in. Perfectly fine. I kind of started working on projects Monday nights instead of just kind of hanging around and doing one particular thing, more or less just to help fill the time in between any questions or comments or anything. So like I said, don't hesitate. It's perfectly fine. I'm gonna flip that over here. And as I get further to the outside edges, I'm going to have to kind of keep an eye out here, because already I'm starting to have this tendency of wanting to pull the canvas towards the center of the Lazy Susan. And I'm afraid I'm going to do that and the tape's not going to hold that great, and I'm going to have something that's smeared. So got to be careful. All right, and that should hang right off the edge. Okay, so far so good. Now we're gonna go back into the black, and I'm gonna step up to a 5.5 on this one. All right, now on the 5.5, what I'm actually gonna do Let me get this wiped off just a little bit. Sorry. Kind of pause for a second because there, my tool was dirty. All right, so this one we are going to leave some space in between. So the black is not intended to touch one another. Right. As always, I'm going to go for my 4 points first. Okay. All right. This is going to be the base of our walked dots, at least the first row of. Okay. And then we're going to do another half one over here. So that one's going to hang a little bit off. Oops. And this one too. All right, let's flip that around. And again, when I first started doing this, I had seen the color combination somewhere else. And it wasn't a design, it wasn't a pattern, it was just a palette. And I'm like, you know, burgundy is my favorite color, and I really have a hard time, usually, finding something kind of different, a little bit more unique, so to speak, to go with it, other than, you know, whites and beiges and gold. And that's when I seen the black, and I'm like, wow. It looks good on the palette, but for whatever reason, I didn't trust it. Not in the least. I'm like, nope, it's not going to look good. I'm going to go ahead and try it anyways. Let me play around a little bit first. And fell in love. Hey, Pat, how's it going? Hey, well, good to have you. Thank you. He likes that. I don't know if anyone actually is going to follow along with this or if just kind of hanging out, but I definitely will share it here. Okay, so now that we've done the black bases, I'm going to do the walk dots. Now, the top is going to be a slightly larger size than the actual walks themselves. Oh, you know what? Hold on. As I'm looking at this, I'm like, wait. This one up here seems just a smidge off. I'm gonna see if I can catch this. Okay. You have to make a correction. Don't be stingy with your Q-tips. I don't need to get all of that off. I'm not going to go crazy because I'm just going to go back over it anyways. Just make sure it's not wet. I'm going to move that over just slightly. All right, that makes me feel a little better. Now, let me get back on track. Okay, so now we're going to go over to a 2. And I'm going to take the 2. Yeah, upside down, isn't it? I'm going to take the 2 and I'm going to make the top dot. Now, this is going to be in the lighter brown. Okay. Now, as far as the walked dots go, if you like the kind of petal, that sort of diamond shape that walked dots have, if you're not getting that for whatever reason, then make sure you start out with a dot on top like I'm doing here that is at least 0.5 larger than what you intend the actual walked part of the dot to be, so that it forces you to bring it down in more of a triangle versus the curve, and follow the curve of the dot itself. Hey, Lori, how's it going? Well, I hope it's enjoyable. Glad to have you here. Thanks for saying hi. Yeah, I don't really see a whole lot of people doing it live. I think I might have run into 1 or 2 people that maybe do real true classes live, paid classes, things like that. But honestly, no, me either. I really haven't run into somebody that's just been painting. So, I kind of like just being able to hang out and chat a little bit and whatever. Ooh, go away. Pardon me if you guys see any of these little, oh my gosh, it's planting season. My husband's a gardener and it's only February. It's not even March yet. But we are in full swing. I've got seedlings planted everywhere and with moist soil in a nice house, in a nice warm house. Unfortunately, sometimes does just come a few of the little gnats hanging around. So, and for whatever godforsaken reason, they absolutely love my lights. They love the warmth of my lights and they love my paint. And I kid you not, more often than I would like to share, they've landed on my project. So, okay, so we've got the 2 down, and I'm going to drop down to a 1.5. Okay. Kind of make sure that that's in there properly. There. Okay. Actually, there. Now, because I've got such a short walked dot, and I am under a tool size 3, I am not, at least at this point, going to suggest that you do more than 1 tool for the dots themselves. But if you're using tools like the Happy Dotting Company ones that I'm using, that are a flat head, so like the acrylic rods or something, the Fairy Realm, I'm drawing an absolute blank on who else produces some of the flat ones. Mark's Mandalas. I If it's 2.5 or 3, I think you can probably get away with it. Any tool size larger than that where you're going to be walking dots, oh, hello. I suggest do not go all the way around with that tool. Make about 3 dots, maybe 4. As you go around, stop, switch tools, go down a half a size, and then complete your walk dot set. Because otherwise you're going to run out of paint too quickly and your dots are going to look too small. And you're going to have that weird fade out at the bottom. So you don't make it all the way around. Oh, goodness gracious. This beige is killing me today. Okay. All right. That one's kind of swimming. I got to fix that. I agree, Lori. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some people can just read something or see something and just do it. But a lot of times, right, especially with art, visual learning, I think is a super big help. Okay. All right, let's go to the other side now. Now, ideally, we should get it just like this, to where the bottom of the walk dots have enough room to sit side by side. They shouldn't overlap. But if you are using tools that are not the exact same as mine, the sizing could be different. And I don't think that's discussed nearly often enough, but one person's tool size 3 is not the same as another. Some brands use real millimeter, for example, 3 millimeter size. Others will use a size, quote unquote, just 3, right? They might have their own kind of branded sizing. So just be aware of that. And especially if you were going to follow somebody else's tutorial. If you're not using the exact same tools they are, then you may have to make adjustments. All right, what I'm going to do all right, I'm going to come back in here. This caramel is killing me, I am telling you. Okay. I'm going to come back in here and adjust this one. Yep. And make sure everything is nice and dry. A little better. Okay. All right. And we'll move over to the side. I wish I had a different one. I wish I had a different brown. The buff that I was using was much better. I think what had happened, I use a lot of apple barrel paints just because they're accessible, they're cheap, but every now and again I run into some that I don't know if they've gotten too cold. Something happened when they were shipped, because most of the time I just order them online and have them shipped to me. But they come out really stringy, really kind of globby. No matter how much I shake them or the bowl bearings that I use. And I've actually several times had to contact Apple Barrel, and they're really, really, really good. Plaid is really, really good about replacing stuff. So I've told them, hey, I ordered this set and this is what happened, and they're kind of crappy. And they just replace them, no questions asked. So just because of their customer service, I've always gone back. But this one is, I'm sure you can tell. I'm not going to be too worried about it because this isn't, you know, going to be a piece that I'm going to frame or anything. But there's sometimes kind of strings. So, but we live. It's okay. I'm going to try to get around this one again. Somehow missed it way over here. Okay. Right, and I'm going to go back in on this side, and I'm going to have to move a little because I'm sure I'm out of somebody's view. And the last one of this here. Gonna do a quick move. Okay, there we go. Had something on my desk in the way. So now we've got the main center. And I wish that didn't run, but I don't want to go back in at the moment and try to catch that. But let's see. Trying to get that kind of to a sharper point. Every time I go out, I look for those Q-tips that have kind of the pointed tips on them. Never found them. Never found them. I don't know who carries them. They look nice. Maybe someday I'll break down and buy them from Amazon or something, but all right. I don't think I can get any closer without maybe touching the black. Go back to the 1.5 and fix that, and then we're going to be done, I promise. Okay. Okay. All right, now that we have the basics done, we're going to get into swooshes. Did you find them on Amazon? Yeah. And I was afraid that that's what was going to happen eventually, that I wouldn't be able to find them in person, and I'm just going to have to order them. Okay. 5.5. We're going to go back to a 5.5. Now, swooshes are fun. On canvas, they're not as great as on glass, but they're still okay. What we're gonna do now with the 5-5, I want to bring a dot. I'm not even sure if you can see it because I've done this really, really light, but I do have a circle here around the edge. I want to bring the line or the top of the swoosh probably about the same width of the 5-5 in the center of the two walked dots, but about a 5-5's width above it. So for me, I've marked that line out here. And so I'll just be able to hug right up against this line all the way around. Okay. But if you don't have that particular guideline, then that's where I'm putting it. Okay. And I'm going to go a little heavy. We're going to go in twice. Okay. This is probably the only time that I never will wash my or wipe off my tool in between dots. Okay. Then I'm going to take the sharp end, and the way I do swooshes with two tools. So start from the center and ever so gently pull a straight line right where it's headed. Okay. Then go into the midline of the dot on its side and pull another one down. Doesn't have to be full. And the same on this side. Then quite literally, just like coloring, take and fill that in. Okay. And then I'm just going to do that all the way around. So again, pull from the middle on each side. Kind of, it always reminds me of, I don't know how many other people did it as a kid, because I know my daughter doesn't. But when I was a kid, when I colored something, I always had to use like a marker or a really heavy pressed crayon, something like that. On the edges of whatever section I was coloring, right? I wanted that real nice dark border to color into the lines with. And I feel like this kind of does the same thing. When you pull it from the sides, it kind of gives you that nice dark edge so you know where to kind of color in. Makes it real easy. Okay, and again, I'm not, because the first one I had to re-dip, yes, but because I'm not wiping off my tool, I usually find that I have enough, oh, and that one melded right into each other. I usually find that I have just enough paint left over on there to do the swoosh. And just make sure all of that paint drops off. Better, yep. See, like I said in the beginning, as I start to get farther out, I'm gonna run out of room between each of these, and I've just got to be mindful where my hands are. I really don't want to put my fist in anything. Okay. And it literally doesn't matter what you want to use to drag the swooshes either. I tried like wooden manicure sets and things like that. I tried Q-tips. I tried needles. I can't even remember all the different things that I've tried. And I just kept ending up going back to this particular tool. This is my absolute go-to. It's probably the only thing that I'll use to draw my swooshes now. But it really doesn't matter. As long as it's got a relatively pointed tip, so you can get, you know, that small point, good to go. I have had people ask, well, where do you buy the needles? Where do you buy the things to do the swooshes with? And I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't need to buy anything extra. I promise you, you don't. Okay, well, I don't know. Let's make sure that that one's actually straight. Because apparently I was looking at it at the corner of my eye or something. I don't know. Okay. Let me make sure. Okay. There. Okay. Well, that's a little better anyways. Okay. Not like that with like crooked in the face. All right, so let's do that over here. These ones have dried a little bit more. And then once we've done these, I'll go into the darker brown and we'll fill in kind of the gap. And having spray varnished the tops of these prior to starting, it really, really helps make the swooshes. The porous surfaces are always the hardest to get swooshes done on. You just have to use a real light touch still, but it really helps. Last one. Okay, let's get everything wiped off now. Now for the second part of that. Now I'm going to go down to a 3.5. And what I'm going to do here, we're going to go into the dark brown. And I'm actually going to pick up my tool again. Actually, I'm going to give this a good stir. It's kind of drying out already on me. Okay. Now with the 3.5, I'm going to just be filling in a gap, more or less. Okay. So I'm going to take this dot and place it right against the top. So kind of in this same line. God, these have melded together. Pull this up. And now I'm just going to take and draw kind of a line instead of through the middle. I'm going to pull this right along the edge of the walked dot and then along the edge of this swoosh and then just fill that in. Probably go even a little wider here. Okay. And then just do that all the way around. There. So this goes pretty quickly as well. Let's kind of get into it. So you don't necessarily have to worry as much about where it's going because all you're doing is kind of filling in that section. Okay. And again, keep my hands out of everything. Pull that from this side. Okay. Then once we get these two, then we're going to really start expanding this outward. But once I'm done with these swooshes, I probably will wrap it up for the night just because I usually do my sessions, give or take about an hour. That usually gives a good dry time. Hands don't go in anything. And for the most part, I find too that after about an hour, paint starts drying out in your palette. You know, if I'm not paying attention about my posture, my back's going to start hurting a little bit. You know how it goes. You know, take a little break. So, but especially if this is the first time you're dropping in, I do these sessions every single Monday night, same time, same place. I do my best to continue with one project from start to finish. So I'm not doing stuff in between. If I start a project on a Monday night, it's going to be finished on a Monday night. So you're going to see the whole thing from start to finish. Last Monday, I actually just completed a 12 session. Goodness gracious, it's even hard to say now. I did a 12 session vase. It's my little pride and joy now. And I finally just did the short that completed it with the oven curing. So again, 100% start to finish. And then, you know, whatever may be in between. So Now these two colors right now, you know, as I'm looking at it, the dark and the light brown are almost an identical shade, but that really is only because the light brown has already dried and darkened up. When everything settles, the difference will stick out again. That this will become really dark. This nutmeg. So you really will start to see the difference. All right, so this is the last one here. Then we'll get the little ones on the side. Okay. All right, I'm gonna take a second though to wipe my tools off. Because, yep, everything does kind of start to dry. I don't really want that. Take a drink here real quick. Okay, there. Let's go into this one here. And I think this pattern does pretty well too, especially kind of as a beginner aspect. With the, what do you say, with the pattern kind of hanging off the side here, because it's symmetrical enough that you don't need to do half dots. You don't need to figure out how to backfill things like you would maybe in a silhouette. You can literally just, like I did with this, just hang your tool halfway off the edge. You're set. In some situations, if you do something like a silhouette, you're not always going to have that luxury. The dots and the gaps need to kind of be filled in manually. And maybe someday I'll show how I do that. But this one, you don't have to fiddle with it. You know, the walk dots, like I did here, you can do the top and then one side. You don't have to worry about kind of doing half of a side. Okay. There. Sheesh, what in the world? Okay. Bring that one over just a little bit more. Okay. Ooh, almost dropped it. Almost. You know, if I had dropped it, it would have gone right smack in the middle of everything. Okay. We're getting there. Yeah. Okay. Spin you around. And even though this particular nutmeg brown is a little thinner than the other paints, I don't find that because I've used the spray varnish that I really need a whole lot of extra paint. When I did the original kind of, what would you call it, test, practice, kind of when I laid it out in my sketchbook, oh my gosh, I was about to give up on this nutmeg and do something else because it is thinner and you could actually see the lines when I was making swooshes. It wasn't thick enough. And I was a little afraid about using it on the canvas. But yeah, no problems. You cannot see through it. My lines are not showing through either, so. All right, let's get this wrapped up for now. And get this last one in place here. Here we go. All righty. Give my tools a good wipe. Keep that off of there like that. All right, so I think it's a pretty good start. Kind of move this over a little so you can see. All right, so nothing fantastic happening quite yet, I realize, but it's a really good start. Got the centers in place for all three. They look like they're pretty evenly lined up. This one somehow got a little bit away from me, but you won't even notice. Mandalas I love for if no other reason than the fact that if you kind of tend to screw up no matter what, your mistakes get caught up in the pattern. Okay, so next thing, like I said, I'm going to pick this one up next week. Hour and a half is usually kind of where I'll hang out. Let me scoot this up a little bit and I'll show you again. So here's what we're after. Okay, maybe a little bit different. But so far we're here, right? I've got these swooshes in and then the sides. Okay, we've got everything else in between. We're not going to top dot immediately, even though probably with some of these I may be able to get away with it. I'm just not going to do that. I do not want to mess anything up. Right. So next week, we're going to get in these settle points here. These black ones. Now this black one is actually a top dot here. So we're not going to do that, but we're going to get in these ones. And then we're going to work on the petals. And I suspect we'll probably have time to do the top portion. We may be even able to get it finished. So we'll take it from there. But yeah, this one's pretty simple. I think it's going to come out looking great. I do have a nice, beautiful champagne gold that I'm going to top this with, and I may still actually continue to use the warm buff, the original color, because you can see definitely these ones are darker than this here. But I may actually use that for some highlights in here instead of having it completely gold. We may even drop in some little baby accents and stuff here kind of in the center. We'll see how it goes. All right. But like I said, I think I'm going to wrap it up for the evening. I'm going to let this dry, and then I hope I will see you guys next week. I do go ahead and schedule out my Monday sessions in advance, at least a week in advance, if not 2 or potentially 3 weeks out, depending on kind of what everything looks like. So if you do want to attend, but you don't want to forget, you can pop onto the just the YouTube website here, and right at the top, it'll show all of my upcomings. And you can actually just say notify me, and as soon as I go live next Monday, even if you're not in it, then you will get a quick notification from YouTube when that happens. All right. But thank you ever so much for popping in tonight. Look forward to seeing you guys again. And of course, like I said, if anyone has any questions, if you think of something between now and then, feel free to go ahead and either type that in. I will see that, drop that on my Facebook page, or come back and tell me in person. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. And if I think of anything else, tips or tricks or whatever comes along, as always, I'll be happy to share those with you as well. All right. Well, fantastic. You guys take care. Have a fantastic evening, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.